If you're presenting yourself to me, I will actually correct you when you say I'm just a ... or I'm really sorry, but ... I will correct you, and then you'll tell me it again, and you'll think I'm being harsh. But I think long term we don't have enough people in our lives who are actually sort of pushing us to just be the people that we really are.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much for joining me in another episode of Tea Bit Tolls. My name is Talua, and today we are meeting with the queen herself. Not the actual queen, but she's a queen. Izzy Obeng, founder of the amazing startup program Foundervine. And we sort of sit together and sum up this series of what starting up means, especially when you are young, female, and energetic. Izzy is a startup enthusiast who blogs, speaks, and coaches early stage entrepreneurs, especially from the Black, Asian, minority, ethnic communities. She is the director and founder of Foundervine, an inclusive enterprise community which develops early stage entrepreneurs. She was also featured in the Sunday Times as one of the 100 game-changing entrepreneurs in the business world today. So as always, I hope you enjoy the episodes, and I hope you can get something from it to apply to your own journey to get up and go. Right, hello Izzy, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me here.
Thank you so much for coming. I just had to holler at you. I've been seeing your movements on social. I was like, come on Izzy, let's do this.
Thank you.
Let's talk. Before we get started, obviously, look, we've got a selection of teas, y'all. We've got a selection of teas. Like, what do you want? This is for you.
Oh, thank you very much. How lovely.
What tea do you want? Should I tell you what we have?
Yes, please.
All right, let me just get my...
So I was doing lots of mentoring whilst I was at KPMG, and it went from mentoring young professionals and graduates to mentoring entrepreneurs. And so I was part of this scheme we had at the firm called the Small Business Mentoring Program.
Right.
And I was also mentoring for the Prince's Trust and through an organisation called WCAN. So it was like regularly had around 4 or 5 people I was like speaking to in various degrees, and I knew that there was something missing in terms of the support that entrepreneurs get.
Right.
What I realised was that if you are someone who already has quite a solid business idea, you've got a business plan, you maybe have a network, you find it much easier to go ahead and start that business.
Right.
But if you're a young person and you have no community, no networks, and no idea how to start a business, it's extremely difficult to take that idea further. And there's a whole graveyard of ideas out there that had some promise but just didn't have the kind of drive it needed to go forward. So Foundervine was born out of that, this need to support young people, particularly from ethnic minority communities and women where the problem is even more acute, and actually provide a space in which they can grow.
Right.
What Foundervine is we describe ourselves as a pre-accelerator program. So we have a really simple model. 60 people, 54 hours to build a startup. You come to one of our Startup 54 events, we ask you to come alone without friends if you can, and you form a team of co-founders, you decide an idea, you build a business model, and you pitch to experts in 54 hours.
Wow,
okay. So it's a really, really intensive format. It's really kind of high energy, high impact. And the idea is that we build a community of entrepreneurs who can carry on running their business, yes, but can also use the skills that they've learned on the program, leadership, communication, teamwork, etc., to go on and be innovators within the companies they're in, or be better in their academic degree, whatever that is. So the end result isn't always companies. It's kind of actually building out a more entrepreneurial, innovative generation of young people from our communities.
Was there any time for you that were like, actually, I felt a bit challenged. I don't know if I'm actually doing the right thing. Like, or was there any part of you that questioned yourself that who am I to be doing this?
Absolutely. I think imposter syndrome is real.
Yeah.
I think particularly when I've been sitting in front of a client and like I'm supposed to be the person that knows what I'm talking about, and I think one thing that consulting taught me was how to BS. I don't know if I can say the word, but how to BS. Right. I think that as a consultant, you need to be very quick on your feet, and clients are paying a lot of money for you to be there. So you just learn to blag your way.
I think it's that confidence. Yeah, isn't it? You just have to say it with confidence.
Super confident, whatever you're saying, even if you know it's absolute rubbish. Yeah. Just say it with your chest.
Say it with your chest.
So I definitely have that approach now, and I'm also very honest when I don't know something. I'm always very clear about that. So it was kind of daunting to an extent, but I think that I've managed to build enough of a brand around me, enough of a team of intelligent people, and that's another thing with finding co-founders. Always find people who are smarter than you, to actually feel like we're all on the same page and we kind of know what we're talking about. And I think a lot of that confidence comes from the fact we know we're actually doing something that's much needed. Right. It means we go into conversations knowing the value that we add, which makes all of the difference in terms of how you feel when you're in a situation. Yeah. Because if you're the client, I'm coming to you and I'm just saying, oh, like, I've got this project and like I'd really, really love you to help, you feel like you have the power. But I'm saying, you're a tired old company who is really suffering from problem diversity, and the wider business community has a massive problem when it comes to representation in technology. We have an innovative format that requires very little from you except some of your resources and your time and your space, and we can do this for you and pretty much run it ourselves. It's just a different value proposition. So I think part of it is like actually knowing the value that I'm bringing and being really clear about that. And then, that tension, that anxiety just kind of falls away. A big part of what I do is holding girls to account. So if you're presenting yourself to me, I will actually correct you when you say, I'm just a ... or I'm really sorry, but ... I will correct you, and then you'll tell me it again, and you'll think I'm being harsh. But I think long term we don't have enough people in our lives who are actually sort of pushing us to just be the people that we really are.
Can we just talk about that for a second? Because honestly, that is so powerful in itself. I think especially as women, we go into situations already limiting ourselves, and that is from a mental place. And I'm not trying to bring sociology into this and start talking about, society made this, society made us that, but especially with young girls that you mentor, you've just said it, that's something that you're seeing. I'm just but what effect do you think when they bring that sort of attitude to situations, like how does that pan out? Why do you think it's so important for them to mentally, even if they're just practicing just with you, to say I am this rather than I'm just a that?
I think the most important thing is that human beings, we're very basic creatures, and I think when it comes to credibility in particular, people react to people very differently. We decide very quickly. We use mental shortcuts to determine whether someone's serious, worthy of our time, whether someone's weak, whether someone's strong. We make a lot of those. And when you are a person of colour, or when you are a woman, you're already starting on the back foot. Wow. You go into a situation where if you're talking to someone who might be quite senior in an organisation, they've already kind of made their mind up about you to an extent, subconsciously. Consciously they might think you're brilliant, but subconsciously they're using their lived experience to make a determination about you. So when you come in, you're highly articulate, you know what you're saying, you're speaking their language, they are almost more impressed by you that you shattered these assumptions than if you were just, Mike. I mean? So I find that I go into a lot of situations where people buy into me very quickly, which makes the rest of the conversation a lot easier. And that hasn't come from anywhere. I think I've learned how to kind of sell a personal brand. I've learned how to I've learned how to kind of not not to kind of, I don't know how to say it, but I think I used to undersell myself quite a lot. I've learned to stop doing that.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to learn from people I admire. I'm always reading. I'm always trying to project a certain type of person. And I think a biggest part of that is not being afraid or intimidated by people who you think have more power than you.
Yeah, I think that's so important.
Yeah, and just always thinking that nothing is quite enough is another thing. I think sometimes we're like, okay, we've done this event, we've done this thing, yeah, that's great, okay, I achieved my goals, yeah. Whereas like I'm so hungry. Right. I remember only 2 months after we launched Foundervine, I was announced as one of the top 100 innovators in the UK in the Sunday Times.
Wow!
Yeah,
Izzy, come on.
And that was fantastic. And I remember like I was in Ghana at the time when it came out, so I asked my dad to buy a copy. When we got back, we had an interview with a Sunday Times journalist, and he was just like, "Oh, like, are you? You know, you must be like so happy that this has happened so quickly." And I was just like, yeah, but you know, on to the next one. That was my mindset. So I'm like, this is cool, but let's see what's next. And it's always like that.
Yeah, like
just being restless, being hungry, and that can make all the difference in terms of your success. Because entrepreneurship is so tough. Like people see the social media, they see the awards, they see the events, they see the panels. They don't see the insomnia. They don't see the 16, 18-hour days. They don't see the fact you don't see your family that often. They don't see that side of it. You need to be really emotionally resilient. And again, that's all stuff I'm learning to be more.
Yeah. There was a tweet where Izzy got so viral from it, and it was saying that we need to stop apologising at the workplace. And I was reading through the comments because, first of all, I didn't even clock it was you. I was just like, yeah, I agree. I needed something. Sorry. And I was reading through the comments, and someone was just like, this girl that is speaking is obviously a CEO, because like the amount of confidence that is oozing through even just one tweet. And I can see that here, but I can also see that mentally in how you achieve stuff in life. And I think that's so important as women, is the identity you sell yourself. Like, you know, like no one really knows your story until you start to speak, right? So it's when you go to places and you're communicating with people, is how do you want to present yourself, how do you want to present your brand. And I think that's actually so important for young girls. That's something that you've always known as a young girl. Like, have you ever struggled with confidence or with identity, or you know, with being a queen as you are a girl, like just knowing all of this from school? Is that something you had at school, or has it been a journey for you? And even in hindsight, you looking back and be like, 10-year challenge, amen, like, you know, where I am now wasn't where I was like mentally 10 years ago, or how was it?
So I definitely was not a confident child. I was the kind of girl who at parties just clung to my dad, dug my nails into my dad's leg in order not to be put with the other kids upstairs. I was very introverted. I still think I'm introverted. I get my energy from being by myself for long periods of time, but so much of my life at the moment is kind of being on a public stage. So I'm having to actually, you know, learn how to be like that. Why my natural state is to kind of be by myself. And so it has definitely been a journey. And I think that so often we talk about purpose, you know, you have to have this purpose. And it's a lot of pressure because, you know, it's not every day you have your purpose. Like sometimes it comes and sometimes it takes a bit longer, right? I mean, tell young people that you need to have your purpose, and, you know, I think that it's really important to have a sense of direction. I think it's really important to explore your interests and build them. I think over time, if you are driven in terms of pursuing things you are interested in, you will find something that resembles a purpose and you'll roll with it. But putting so much pressure on yourself to have a purpose and then being frustrated not doing anything when that isn't apparent is often not the way to do it. So I say that because growing up, I didn't think I was going to be an entrepreneur at all. And what happened was that I became really passionate about a very specific thing, and that was financial inclusion and financial inclusion and people having a means to look after themselves in my community.
Right.
And that manifested itself as wanting to go into politics.
Right.
So I can help people who grew up like myself, who grew up with parents who had to work multiple jobs in order to look after them, actually navigate their way through society. And I was very kind of like new labour in terms of my thinking, quality of opportunity, all of that stuff. And then it was kind of realising that the best way to actually achieve financial inclusion in our society is to actually equip people from our communities with the tools that they need to enrich their own lives.
Right, yeah.
And so I think that if I had to say that I had a purpose, it's that I'm guided by this need to actually better global communities and achieve equality through enterprise.
Yeah.
So that guides me, and in terms of my confidence, it's grown because I have a really, really clear sense of purpose. Which makes having conversations, explaining why I do what I do, actually just like driving forward when I'm feeling really tired, and just keep going. So I think confidence isn't something that some people just like have and some people don't. There are lots of extroverted people, lots of loud people, but for the introverts out there who are a bit like me, I think your confidence will come from within once you have that sense of direction.
What do you think so from the work you've been doing, even before Foundervine, just like mentoring young people, what do you think the biggest challenge is that young people face?
I think it's a set of skills I call enterprise skills, but you can call them soft skills, you can call them core skills, you can call them whatever. I think the challenge that I faced when I was mentoring is that I had a lot of young people who were brilliant on paper, all of the grades that you wanted, but you meet them in person, you're like, bloody hell, what's going on here? Because they hadn't been coached or mentored by anyone on how to speak to people, how to pitch an idea, how to articulate themselves in a certain way, how to work as part of a team, how lots of different skills, how to be a leader, kind of all of that stuff. And so they get into working environments and they just simply do not know how to communicate. When you are stakeholder facing, client facing, like consulting, it's so important. The first thing a partner is looking at you when they're wanting to hire you is, can I put you in front of a client and will you embarrass me? Can I take you to the pub? And will we be able to work together? And so everything you learn at school doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you're actually someone that they can engage with and that you're competent, you come across as competent. So I think that a problem that a lot of entrepreneurs face linked to that is that they don't do enough work to build and sell their brand. And at the start, when you're starting out, you are the business, you are the brand. And if you're not able to do that successfully, then your business will struggle. And I think only 17% of tech entrepreneurs are women in the UK. And when you think about entrepreneurship, if I asked you to close your eyes right now and think about an entrepreneur, it wouldn't be a woman. It certainly wouldn't be a woman of colour.
Right.
And that's because publicly there are not enough success stories, even if they are there, of women entrepreneurs. And that comes from a lack of visibility, a lack of brand building that we particularly suffer from. So I think sort of taking it back, that ability to sell yourself and to build a personal brand around you is very, very important. It's even more important in the kind of economic environment we had where work is very unstable and people are having portfolio careers. So you're constantly having to sell yourself in a way that you didn't back in our parents' day, where you just had one job and it was probably for life if you wanted.
But you're selling yourself in almost like different angles, like to appeal to a different crowd, to a different audience.
Exactly. Being highly adaptable, and it's just going to get more the case as jobs change and industries die. Banking as a career is going to die. Consulting is going to change so much. Nursing is going to change. Everything is going to change with technology. So you need to be a hustler. You need to be an entrepreneur, regardless of whether you're actually building a business.
What is if there was a young person in front of you now, which you can obviously easily visualize because you mentor?
I was about to say you can easily visualize because I'm so young
Like you should visualize. And if they were stuck in a place where, so this young person is 16.
Yeah.
So still at school, and is really stuck in a place with what to do next. And because they come from a community or environment that doesn't enable them to do anything next. There's no next in the conversation. There's no next with friends. There's no next with family. No one is talking about what's going to happen tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? It's just like an immediate gratification sort of lifestyle. But this young person's hungry for something. Comes to you just open-handed and it's like, Izzy, I heard your mentor. I heard what you're doing at Foundervine. I think I have ideas. I'm not, but I don't know what I'm good at. What would you say to that person? It's a really intense young person.
It's under 1 minute. You want me to answer?
Yes, girl,
okay,
me telling you too.
The first thing I say to them is that your friends and your family who are not supporting you are not your community.
Wow.
You have access to an amazing resource, which is the internet, and we live in the kind of society now where we've got entrepreneurs who are literally built businesses off the back of code on their laptops. So the whole world is open to you. And if you want to start something, you've got a global community out there through Foundervine and wider who can help you grow. So the first step you need to take is actually defining what that want is, and I can work with you on that. If it's starting a business, if it's actually taking the next step in your career, why don't you tell me where you want to start and we can figure out the next set of very small steps to help you get there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, woo! I felt that was for me. Like when you leave, I'm about to start taking notes. Like, small steps. I think there's so much power in small steps. People always.
How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite.
I think people, they're like, oh yeah, like I want to start a hair salon. That's the first thought, and they get really excited. And then almost in the next slide, it's kind of like, oh my god, what's a business plan? What's a marketing strategy? How do I register with HMRC? Like, how do I get a premises license? Like, how do I train people? What's HR? Like, and you just psych yourself out completely.
Just get overwhelmed.
But
just start to drown.
Exactly, but one step at a time. You build a business model, not a plan. It doesn't need to be a 50-page document.
Yeah.
A very basic model for how this should work. You enlist support from your community. If you don't have one, you find a coach, you find a mentor. You take those first steps, whether that's just holding the website domain, whether that's starting to figure out what kinds of equipment you need to buy for your premises. You contact the local council. You just take those small steps. You don't rush yourself because it's not going anywhere. The idea.
Honestly. That's so true. Yeah, you take it one step at a time and just and I think especially with starting out, it's easy to get so overwhelmed, and the idea in itself can be so exciting, when you visualize what that goal is or whatever you want. But to get there, that journey itself, those hoops and hurdles that you need to jump over, it's so daunting. And I think
we put enormous pressure on ourselves, because you're going to get people who are going to be like, oh, but like there's a hair salon over there already, or like, have you seen this hair salon, or you're not even doing that thing. But you just need to be there in the mindset that, oh yeah, I know Rachel's hair salon and she's not doing the things that I want to do. Or I've noticed 4 things about her business model that isn't quite right, and I know that our customers are looking for something a bit different, and I've got that unique value proposition that I can bring, and I know that I think it's just building that community around you, shutting out the naysayers, but listening to valuable constructive feedback. I always say it's like the 90-10 rule. So I think a lot of people kind of just like have an idea, and you say, I've got this idea, and like everyone should just buy into it. No one cares about your idea. That's the first lesson you learn. No one actually cares about your idea. They care about your execution. So you take it 90% there, and then you ask people to engage in that 10%. That's what it is. A mentor will ask you to bring 90% to the table, and they'll give you their 10%, and that's how you grow. A customer will ask you to bring 90%. They'll give you that 10%, which is their feedback, which is their custom, so you can do the next phase of the product. So it's always 90-10. So I feel like when we're starting out, and it's kind of like you don't quite have something, people can get frustrated, and you might assume people are being naysayers when they're saying, hey, actually, like kind of but really it's that constructive feedback. So step away from people who are just determined for you not to succeed. Do listen to people who are saying like,
have something constructive.
Exactly. And so I mean, there are times when people are just like, oh, but have you heard of like this organization do this thing over here? And I think that I've done my market research. I can say, yeah, I've heard about them. They do some amazing work, but they don't cater to the same target audience, and their work is actually quite different.
Yeah.
But it's great.
Yeah. What they do is great. But here's what we do.
Yeah. I mean, but I can say that we have an amazing community in the UK of people who are just determined to help you grow, and I'm part of maybe 12 or 13 WhatsApp groups of people who are just there to help you grow. And my friends are doing a lot this year around accountability partners, and I think that's so important, because if at the start of the year you're just like, I'm gonna do like these 4 goals, I'm gonna do this thing, but you didn't share it with anyone, you didn't tell anyone, so if you don't do it, who's to say anything? But if at the start of the year you sent it in an email to your friend, could be a friend, could be a colleague, said, hey Izzy, these are my like 5 goals that I said I'm going to achieve by the end of 2019. Can you email me in 3 months and just see how I'm getting on? Then I put that in my diary, and I'm happy to email you just to make sure you're doing what you're saying you're doing. But we don't want to do that just because we know intrinsically we might flake.
Yeah, like in 3 months I'm going to be like, what email?
Yeah, just be, tell me how's the gym going? How's the gym going?
Well, gym, I'm healthy. Yeah, no, I hear that so much. Yeah, I think being accountable, that's something I never even think of, but that's so true, because no one ever holds you except for my mom. Sometimes that's why I don't like picking up the phone. She's like, but why are you at the gym at 7 p.m? I'm like, can I live my life?
Is that KFC
Can I
I smell?
Is that burger? Am I gonna live my best life?
It's so true. I always say that there are two ingredients you need in order to like successfully achieve your goal, and people overwhelmingly focus on self-discipline as one of those ingredients. And self-discipline will be the making of you kind of delaying instant gratification and actually focusing on that long-term aim. But without accountability as a second ingredient, you will not be successful. You can have all the self-discipline you want, but you need to have an accountability partner, preferably more than one, to make sure that you actually deliver on what you say you're going to deliver.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Honestly, like, it's such, because this is the last episode. I didn't even tell you that before, but this is the last episode for this series.
Okay.
And it's so amazing to have you here and just literally summarize what everyone for the 2 episodes have been talking about. You know, we've talked about self-discipline, we've talked about naysayers, but to end it with my head just being like, rah, so true. Like, you can have self-discipline, but on that other hand, you need accountability. Again, I didn't say it properly. But, you know, you need that. It's amazing, and I hope young people and old people, whoever people, get something from this, because you've just given us so much wisdom cubes this evening. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us. If there's a place people can get at you on Twitter, Instagram, your socials, what is it?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram and Twitter as Izzy Obeng. Foundervine is also on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of your favourite social networks. So do found us, that's Foundervine, and Izzy Obeng.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please don't forget to share, subscribe and like, and also if you have any comments or feedback, do let me know, because I'm always keen to hear. Thank you.